What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the spot. We kick back and react to all kind of different things. All right, what we got going on today? Casual Geographics has dropped a new one. Top 10 animals with black Air Force energy. Oh man, I know this is gonna be a good one. He's always giving us the wildest facts, the wildest true facts about these animals. So you gotta love it. So kick back, we in for a good one. Try not to get too traumatized, because you know he's about to give you all of the nitty gritty, all the little facts that you wish you didn't know, but now you know and you can't unlearn them. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into this. Let's go. Kangaroos. Damn! Hold up. Before we even get, I gotta see that again. He's like, tossed his ass. And kangaroos are strong as fuck, man.
Black Air Force energy. Good old Urban Dictionary define.
That was a great opener right there. Oh man, a person or an object that has insane potential and crazy to deal anything without fear or hesitation, even regardless of moral alignment, including own rivals and competitors.
Defines it as a person or an object that has insane potential and is crazy enough to deal with anything without fear or hesitation, regardless of moral alignment, including its own rivals or competitors. And despite clearly taking grammar lessons from NBA Youngboy, I'd say whoever wrote that was pretty on point. It's a term I use a lot in my videos without really explaining exactly what it is. So here's a full list of the top 10 animals with the most black Air Force energy. Some animals are an obvious pick, others might just surprise you. But they've all earned their spot, including the animal at number 10, which might have the least clout of any animal on this list, but that's only because it's found one place in the world. Because if this bird were airdropped across the globe, it'd definitely be more known for all the wrong reasons. Starting off is what happens when an animal is too smart for everyone else's quality of life. The Kia is a large parrot that can be found terrorizing the people of New Zealand. And don't let it fool you, this black Air Force with a Grinch colorway is an op in every way. They're highly intelligent and armed with a hook-shaped beak, which is the perfect tool for Kias to inflate insurance by picking apart cars. You see, the Kia is smart enough to associate people and the cars we drive with food, which is why this anti-mechanic is famous for committing the cutest carjackings you'll ever see. Of course, they don't just stop at cars. This feather felon will go through purses, backpacks, duffel bags, and swipe anything they can fly away with. There was even...
Damn, he sees people, they think food, and they just start jacking you, huh? Tearing apart. They hold up. They were stripping that car down faster than faster than that crew, and I'm gonna get you, sucker.
More for everyone else's quality of
shoot, only the old school fans know. If you know, you know.
Life. The Kia is a large parrot that can be found terrorizing the people of New Zealand. And don't let it fool you, this black Air Force with a Grinch colorway is an op in every way. They're highly intelligent and armed with a hook-shaped beak, which is the perfect tool for Kias to inflate insurance by picking apart cars. You see, the Kia is smart enough to associate people and the cars we drive with food, which is why this anti-mechanic is famous for committing the cutest carjackings you'll ever see. Of course, they don't just stop at cars. This feather felon will go through purses, backpacks, duffel bags, and swipe anything they can fly away with. There was even a case where this airborne pirate stole the passport of a Scottish man that didn't want to be identified, because no one wants to be remembered for getting...
Oh man, they even stealing your identity around here. You gotta watch out.
Denied from your home country because you got your passport pickpocketed by a panhandling parrot. It happened to him and it can happen to you, but guess what? If you happen to get your wallet snatched and try to see the Kia about it, be prepared to also eat a several $1,000 fine and even jail time. Kias are protected by the government because it only makes sense that something with wings would be above the law. And it's almost like every Kia knows it and acts accordingly. But it's not just humans getting griefed. Kias will regularly raid other birds' nests and make omelets with their unborn children. Damn. And they'll use that Swiss Army knife of a nose to remove parts of a living sheep to eat. And there have been reports of them victimizing dogs and even horses. But at least the Kia isn't a legitimate physical threat to people. The next animal is responsible for putting more zookeepers on workers' comp than any other animal.
Building your online business? Go to Wix.com and set...
Man, I'd be mad as hell if I just straight up got broke down and carjacked by a bunch of birds. I don't care what type of bird it is. Oh, that was crazy.
The African wilderness has some of the most ways to F around and find out per square mile in the world. So it makes sense that living in the most dangerous area codes in the world has turned the zebra into an actual psychopath. This oppressed Oreo horse has the strongest kick in the animal kingdom, strong enough for Marty to have written Alex out of the sequel. Which is why, even though lions body them often, every once in a while a lion has to explain to his ancestors how he got flatlined by a high-strung equality donkey. But the generational anxiety of being constantly hunted means the zebra will often one-shot something for existing too close to it. There's two reasons why you won't see a person riding a zebra. One, they're too small. And two, every zebra is fundamentally a bastard to its core. No, like literally. Because many mother zebras will actually mate with as many males as possible, because if she's showing and he suspects it's not hers, they'll violently press her until it's terminated. And if the baby's already out, that's just an invitation for him to demote her from mother to mourning. And going back to humans, zebras are infamous for allegedly putting as many zoo staff in the ER as any other animal. They may look like horses whose favorite part of a birthday is the finger painting station, but this panda pony's liable to paint the block with their insides if you breathe at them the wrong way. Treat one like a barnyard animal and negotiate your left hand. And because zebras are genetically closer to donkeys than horses, calling it the ass of Africa is a scientifically accurate title. And
Hey, you gotta be scientifically accurate with your insults in order to make them just right.
as a default protein of many of the landlords of the savannah, it's a title they hold with pride, because it's the best one they can get. Speaking of titles, you ever think about how dope the title of landlord actually is? Like landlord, as in lord of the land? I'm sure it's a title that would get more respect if there weren't such zebras about it. Even though it's kind of been tainted, the title of lord used to be reserved for the elites of society, like princes, lieges, and feudal superiors. Back then, to be called a lord, you'd have to A, join the House of Lords, B, marry someone who's already a lord or lady, or C, buy land from someone who's already a lord and have the title passed down. I don't know about the first two options, but today you're still able to buy land and be referred to as a lord. Like with established titles, you can actually buy plots of Scottish land and an official certificate of ownership. And if you really wanted to be extra about it, you could actually change your name to lord or lady and put it on credit cards, plane tickets, even dating profiles. Because the only type of person that's treat this barcode horse is the code casual geo for an extra 10% off. 10% off is also what you can expect if you treat this barcode horse as a petting zoo. But at least they have the excuse of constantly being plotted on. The next animal has less excuses but more disrespect. Deer manage to cause billions of dollars in damage a year by playing freeze tag with cars, and that ironically makes them the most dangerous animal in America. But where blissful ignorance makes deer a threat, the deer of Down Under initiate conflict. 9 out of 10 car accidents in Australia involve kangaroos, and a good number of them are premeditated and not by the driver. Kangaroos assault vehicles with enough regularity to commit insurance fraud.
Yo, that made me jump. I was like, oh snap. He just came out at him.
In fact, kangaroos will regularly beef with inanimate objects. But it's not just a bluff. These are some brolic marsupials, armed with claws, but more importantly a sharp dagger of a toenail. Which is why it's not a kangaroo's punch you have to worry about, but that Jurassic pedicure disembowelment. It's what makes their sparring sessions so lethal. That and the fact that kangaroos start every day with the specific goal of inconveniencing as many life forms as possible. If you happen to fly a drone in kangaroo country, prepare to have your insurance tested. In fact,
damn, they just be like running up and just stealing on. They're like hands ready, E for everybody. That's what that is. Oh my god, they just coming out getting you. Oh man, I remember seeing like, I forget which talk show, but they had like a live kangaroo on there, and they had a dude in like a kangaroo outfit, like a gag, and the kangaroo didn't like it and just slept him one punch. Dude dropped. He punched him through the costume, slept him. It was crazy. And then when he was like getting back up, the kangaroo hopped over and gave him a second one, put him back to sleep. They are dangerous, man.
In fact, it's not a stretch to say they hate anything that flies. Can you imagine how ridiculous this could have gotten? Imagine people thinking you died paragliding when really you survived but got mobbed by a pack of Roy Rabbits on Earth. Kangaroos are number 8 because there's really no good reason for this. You see, as dangerous as Australia...
Like, what the... Look at this, we gotta bring this back. I'm sorry, we gotta... That was just crazy. It was minding his business skydiving.
If you happen to fly a drone in kangaroo country, prepare to have your insurance tested. In fact, it's not a stretch to say they hate anything that flies. Can you imagine how ridiculous this could have gotten? Imagine people thinking you died paragliding when really you survived but got mobbed by a pack of roid rabbits on impact. Kangaroos are number 8 because there's really no good reason for this. You see, as dangerous as Australia is, there aren't really any dominant apex land predators. While kangaroos often contend with dingoes and the occasional wedge-tailed eagle, a full-grown kangaroo doesn't have much that can threaten it, other than a bigger kangaroo. So my working theory is, they got cocky. And until nature airdrops some bears or maybe some type of big cat, kangaroos are still going to be out here thinking they can do whatever. Try to change their mind at your own risk. As on-site as these malicious macropods are, they're not even the most disrespectful animal in Australia. And believe me, we'll get to that.
Oh man. This has been so far the kangaroos have been the worst to me. And we still got 7 more on this list. So a kangaroo would just, see, I'm over here thinking I want to stay out of Australia for all the venomous animals out there and freaking Komodo dragons and everything else. Nah, man, you better stay away from there because of the kangaroos. You could be in a nice neighborhood with no dangerous animals out there, none of the poisonous ones anyway, and a kangaroo will come up and just sleep you. Oh man, how do people live out there knowing? You just gotta toughen up and deal with it. Every now and then you gotta get slept by a kangaroo.
The Big Five refers to the top 5 most dangerous animals to hunt in Africa. These include the elephant, the rhinoceros, the lion, the leopard, and an animal so feared it's been nicknamed Black Death. The African Cape buffalo is a walking attempted homicide case armed with a pair of horns to make most attempts successful. They have one of the highest KD ratios against humans with guns. In some places, these tanks with road rage and 50% of the people they go after, and a lot of that is because they will actively seek revenge. There have been stories of one buffalo murking the same hunter that took out a member of its own herd. And whether you're a lion or a hunter,
they're intelligent enough to remember. That means I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for a dude who got who got the payback brought to him. That's how it is. That's how it is.
These trench cows get it back in blood. And the scariest version of a Cape buffalo is one that's already been injured. Hunters have followed a mortally wounded buffalo into thick brush, only for the freight train with legs to circle back and ambush them from behind. Which is why the #1 rule when hunting Cape buffalo, assume you only have one shot because that's usually all you get. But it's not just humans getting bodied. Bloodlusting buffalo will seek out unsupervised lion cubs and log them out of life before they can grow up to be a threat. Not like the adults aren't at risk either. Capes will stalk and circle lone lions using the threat of gang violence to give Mufasa a roommate. Which is how the same apex predator
gang violence to give Mufasa a roommate. Damn.
that can solo multiple hyenas can get sent up a tree like a house cat. They're like the Liam Neeson of animals. Wrong them and they make their life's mission to co-sign your obituary. That first hit was self-defense. Everything after that was a personal choice. And even though experienced lions can take them down, it's still very much a gamble. Especially since they can travel in herds of hundreds. That's also how they earned the nickname Widowmaker. Because right now there's at least one woman on Tinder because her husband decided to hunt a 1-ton vibe check while the buffalo decided that would be the day he'd finally live up to his nickname. It's a murderous mammal, but like the zebra, it's often just self-defense gone way too far. Not like the antics of the next animal. If you're talking about the Black Air Force of the sky, you're probably talking about crows, or really just corvids in general. Crows are smart enough to manipulate their environment to their advantage, but they're also devious enough to manipulate other animals for their own sadistic pleasure. I don't know what that crow said to that cat, but it certainly involves someone's mother. Ravens will weaponize their relationship with wolves to call out hits on competing coyotes. Crows in Tokyo.
Hold up, we gotta back that up. Did the crow just instigate a fight between two cats?
Really just corvids in general. Crows are smart enough to manipulate their environment to their advantage, but they're also devious enough to manipulate other animals for their own sadistic pleasure. I don't know what that crow said to that cat, but it certainly involves someone's mother.
The crow freaking instigated a fight. That's basically what we just saw just now. He just got one cat. These animals are too damn smart, man. Getting crazy.
Ravens will weaponize their relationship with wolves to call out hits on competing coyotes. Crows in Tokyo have especially become a problem where they've basically gone to war against the entire human population. But it's not just humans getting bullied. There might not be a worse time to be an owl than in broad daylight surrounded by a murder of crows. Not to mention crows will often raid the nests of other birds for a disturbingly literal kids meal. And that's when they're not just straight up snatching minors in front of their parents. I think EDP just found a spirit animal. They'll regularly mob and harass other birds until they drop the food they've already caught. And crows won't hesitate to beat on much larger birds of prey, which might explain why they do the exact same thing with humans to get them to surrender whatever calories they have on them. But the avian onslaught peaks out with the Australian magpie.
They say they don't care about how big you are. You got something, they want it. They're a bunch of little flying Debos around here.
Why they do the exact same thing with humans to get them to surrender whatever calories they have on them. But the avian onslaught peaks out with the Australian magpie. Now turns out they're not actually corvids. They actually sit closer to another bird with psychopath tendencies. Either way, Australian magpies manage to be the most feared thing in a country seasoned with crocs, cassowaries, and snakes. And while most wildlife is harmless as long as you respect their space, the earth is their space, and they have no patience for trespassers. To the point where many Australians have taken to wearing helmets to protect themselves from the magpie's malicious intent. Especially during swooping season, where magpies will relentlessly attack anything that gets near their nest. Actual human lives have been lost to this goth Tweety's tantrums. And since corvids can remember faces, once you've been swooped, you can expect the same treatment next year. I think Sears, you said it best. Corvids are what would happen if you gave monkeys wings. But at least in the magpie's case, they're only a legitimate threat to a human way of life for the roughly 6 weeks of swooping season. Next animal is one of the biggest dangers to humans all year round. It was really only a matter of time before the river rhino made an appearance. Widely considered the world's deadliest mammal, you may have noticed that hippos weren't included in the Big Five, and I have to assume that's because nobody that has a desire to see the next day would actually hunt them. Arguably, no animal has a harder working PR team than the hippopotamus. First of all, it's not the goofy lard donkey it lets you think it is. A thin subcutaneous fat layer means hippos are actually walking units. And despite their awkward appearance, hippos can outpace any human over short distances, and that includes on land and in water, where they somehow become—
You see how fast he was moving? I've never seen a hippo run before until now. That's terrifying. That is terrifying. He was moving. Look at this.
You think it is. A thin subcutaneous fat layer means hippos are actually walking units. And despite their awkward appearance, hippos can outpace any human over short distances, and that includes on land and in water, where they somehow become even more territorial. Hippos have been known to lower the census totals of other animals for seemingly no reason. Just when an antelope thinks it's been bailed out, the slaughter horse does origami with its spine. And even though they're supposed to be herbivores, every once in a while they'll give in to the temptation of tasting the flesh of their victims. Cannibalism is not off the table. Science doesn't really know why exactly they do this, but science doesn't account for an animal just being a dick. Few predators will press this obese water pig, and those that do so at their own risk. Hippos are so carnage happy that the biggest threat to a baby hippo is a bigger, meaner bull hippo. It's how a hippo baby shower can legitimately end in a rain of flesh confetti. Now, to be fair, plenty of animals resort to infanticide. Hippos are just really mean about it. Like I said, nobody's PR team works harder, except maybe dolphins. Which makes sense, since despite resembling ungulates like warthogs and rhinos, the hippo's closest living relatives are actually cetaceans like dolphins and whales. But instead of making it out in the ocean, hippos decided to make a living griefing everything in its area code. And I didn't even mention the way they claim that area code.
What the hell? Did he just like fan his shit everywhere?
You know, if you unsubscribed right now, I wouldn't blame you. The only thing that can make
Nah, man, I'm gonna keep rocking with you.
If you unsubscribed right now, I wouldn't blame you. The only thing that can make this whale Karen more of a menace than it already is if it were a straight up predator, or if it hunted in packs. Then again, that would literally make it an animal further down this list. My personal bias was not going to keep the elephant off this list. As much as I love them, elephants can be a—
before we get on the elephants though, hippos are something else, man. It makes me think about the remember Animaniacs with the old school Animaniacs with the rich hippo couple and everything, and how no matter what tried to attack them, it kind of just bounced off. In the show, it's kind of a gag because they were supposed to be like unbelievably fat, but it's close to home apparently because they're so much thick fat you can't really penetrate nothing. They can just tear you up. Crazy. I wonder if they knew that or if they just unintentionally got that right.
My personal bias was not going to keep the elephant off this list. As much as I love them, elephants can be a devastating combination of smart enough to do anything and big enough to get away with it. Asian elephants especially get themselves into trouble by raiding villages and emptying out their rice supply.
The sound effect did it. I couldn't hold it in. I'm not even gonna go back. Oh man. Oh, you Rick James there.
Which is why Asian elephants are responsible for the bulk of human hashtags, especially since they can be just as vengeful as the Cape buffalo. Earlier this year, a man in Thailand had an elephant working hauling wood in the brutal heat, which is illegal. And apparently the elephant knew his rights because he proceeded to rip his boss in half. And of course, we gotta address the I'm better than that. One elephant traveled over 100 miles to murk a 70-year-old woman collecting water, only to pull up to her funeral to attack the sole evicted body, this time in front of her family. The biggest mystery of mankind is what motivated a 4-ton pachyderm to pack up an elderly woman twice. If he had a reason, it's not like he's gonna tell us. Elephants rank over hippos because we're
I mean, we've that was a pretty recent story too. But we've all heard about that, all the rumors and everything. Nothing's been proven yet, but I think the biggest rumor is that she may have helped some poachers take out that elephant's child or something. But that's just a rumor. Nothing's been proven about that one. But she did something to that elephant. One thing we know is that the animals ain't gonna just brutalize you like that. I mean, some of them might do it for fun, but the elephant isn't really gonna attack you unless you did something to them. So yeah, don't know what she did, but she paid for it.
Hippos commit war crimes in the heat of passion. When an elephant catches a body, you can almost be certain it was premeditated, and it's in populations that have been.
Why do you keep putting the sound effects in there? Oh man, I hope that person was okay.
Fragmented by poaching, where young male elephants really fly off the handle. And bull elephants are already pretty high strung as it is, but they managed to get worse in communities decimated by poaching, to the point where 3 elephants in South Africa were responsible for deleting 63 rhinos as well as charging at people. Now, to be fair, poaching typically targets older bulls, and research shows that without old heads around, younger male elephants go into must a lot sooner than they should. Which I get. What I don't get is why that has to involve turning a rhino from a tight end to a wideout, where you have to remember that elephants are intelligent enough to experience every human emotion like compassion, empathy, and hope. But for every headline like this, you might get a
oh man, I've seen that clip of the elephant doing that to that rhino. We're not going back to that again. I'm just like, why? Elephants just like, well, you know what? If I'm pissed, I'm gonna make you pissed.
headline like this. And if elephants wore shoes, they'd rock the biggest black Air Forces the world's ever seen. But that's only because the next animal on this list doesn't have legs.
You just like scoot them over like, get out of here.
Support? My toxic trait is I can't wear socks unless they're Bombas. It took them 2 years.
One of the biggest injustices of cinema is that where dolphins got cast as a lovable flipper, sharks got typecast as Jaws. Dolphins are the most disrespectful beings in the ocean. Makes sense because they're basically intelligent hydrodynamic hippos.
Oh man! Oh, imagine having to come home from the beach and tell everybody that you got body checked, you got shoulder checked by a dolphin.
Regularly bully sharks, use fish heads and live eels as marital aids, commit unprovoked acts of porpoiside, all while letting humanity think they're the good guys. They have mating practices so brutal that I probably can't even talk about them. Just know that what dolphins like to do to each other, godless might try to do to me. But we can't talk about dolphins without talking about the biggest dolphin of all. The orca is the most dominant apex predator on the planet that isn't human. And as if sheer size and intelligence wasn't enough, they typically hunt in pods with the coordination of a wolf pack, which is how this oppressive sea oriole regularly griefs the tankiest animals on the planet. They're such a force that great whites have been known to abandon hunting grounds for up to a year once this steroid quality guppy makes an appearance. Probably because they've been known to use the shark's biology against them to rob them of their heart and liver, just to leave the rest of the shark to sink to the abyss. And then there's the fact that orcas often practice their craft on other animals. Which is why if you ever feel bad about penguins getting bullied by seals, I suggest you see what happens when a Navy SEAL joins the Air Force. And while you could chalk this up to hunting strategy, there's also the chance that living life on Roku difficulty means orcas get bored and just start trying stuff. And while it's true a wild orca orcas never taking out a human, that hasn't stopped them from actively messing with human vessels with disturbing regularity. It's like they know who's ruining the ocean and adjust their behavior accordingly. Either way, orcas are the humans of the sea, and anything that steps to them gets reminded expeditiously. Even moose of all.
Did he put down some bait and then snatch up a bird right out? Too damn smart. Too damn smart. Better watch out.
Way, orcas are the humans of the sea, and anything that steps to them gets reminded expeditiously. Even moose of all things. Moral of the story, Free Willy should have been put on parole. The only thing more Black Air Force than an animal that grieves everything around it would be an animal that commits atrocities against its own kind. And that's why orcas are only number 3.
Oh man, so the bullies of the ocean are just number 3, huh? So now we gotta see who the number 2 and number 1 are. Let's see.
Ask any zookeeper what animal they fear the most. If they don't say chimps, they've never worked with one. A common misconception
So
is that
why did we get like a clip of the elephant again? Was that to distract us?
chimps are 5 times stronger than the average man. And while the number is actually closer to 1.5, chimps have more fast twitch muscles, a stronger bite force, and a stronger grip force. Their ability to use tools is fascinating to watch, until you realize that means they're able to create and use weapons. People often forget that chimpanzees are pack hunting predators able to execute attacks with the precision of early man, and that doesn't just apply to their prey. Chimps in Luongo National Park have been documenting attacking families of gorillas and murking any helpless offspring they can get their hands on. Literally no animal safe from the violent tendencies of a furious George.
Damn.
But it's the damage they inflict against their own kind that puts them over the top. Chimp casualties often share the same injuries: a disfigured face, missing fingers if not entire hands, and a non-consensual neutering. Chimps seem to have an understanding of what's important to an animal, and they go out of their way to remove it. It's why I can show you this picture and you'll understand. And it's why instead of organ donor, I have, if ever maimed by a chimp, just let me die on my driver's license. And it's also why you probably have a better chance of surviving being locked in a room
Let
with a
me die my driver's license. Yeah, because you're not gonna be yourself. Unrecognizable is the word.
lion than in a room with a furry chainsaw with thumbs. The fact that a chimp can get put 6 feet under by members of its own troop guarantees them a spot on this list. The only way an animal could beat that is if something was enough of a menace to be a legitimate threat to itself. And that's exactly what number 1 is. But before we reveal number 1, here's some honorable mentions. The Canadian goose, for having the most irrational confidence of any animal. They actually almost went extinct, and now they revolve their entire existence around punishing humanity for it. Swans, because what geese think they are, swans always have been. Wolverines, because they're more than capable of hunting for themselves, but they'd rather tax animals 3 times their size for a living. Meerkats, for being quite literally the most homicidal mammals on the planet. And now at number 1, to absolutely no one's surprise,
What's it gonna be?
the honey badger. The most
I should have known. Friggin' honey badger. I should have known that one. I've been watching his content enough. I don't even know why I didn't see that coming. I should have seen that coming.
unapologetically disrespectful creature on Earth. I have an entire video dedicated to the exploits of this steroid skunk, but here are some highlights. They'll regularly pinch food from leopards and then throw a tantrum if they get caught. They'll take on packs of animals that realistically should be able to one-shot them. But the Oreo weasel has plot armor in the form of crackhead courage. They'll raid the hives of African bees, the same bees that are 10 times meaner and sting 10 times more than their European cousins. And honey badgers aren't immune to bee stings. They're resistant, but enough stings will flatline a honey badger. But ask the honey badger if he cares. He won't answer, but you know the answer. These prison ferrets also run fades with highly venomous cobras. If they manage to get bitten, they'll just slip into a cobra-induced coma and then wake up hours later and walk it off like a Sunday morning hangover. Even the honey badger's idea of self-defense is as offensive as you can get. As in, they'll reverse their anal pouches inside out and release a smell so pungent it can allegedly paralyze attacking bees. And honestly, any animal that religiously attacks the baby makers of others is a different tier of menace. No other badger represented this better than Stoffel, who once escaped from his enclosure and picked a fight with a neighboring family of lions who nearly mauled him to death. After about 2 months in the hospital, the first thing the affiliated ferret did fresh out was go right back at the same lines to settle the score. And that was only one of the hundreds of times Stoffel managed to raise the blood pressure of the people around him. But here's the real kicker. Stoffel was actually hand-raised by humans at a young age and therefore imprinted on them. He had no intention of ever leaving. The whole thing was just a game to him. Because if blatant disrespect were a sport, they still wouldn't play it because anything involving rules goes against a honey badger's belief system. But that's gonna do it for this video. For more consistent content, be sure to follow my Instagram and TikTok. I try to post daily on both. And to further support this channel, my Patreon's also gonna be in the description. But also, don't feel like you have to give anything. If you watch the video this far, you've already done more than enough. But other than that, drink water, hug your mother, don't hug a honey badger. It'll never end well. And I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't try to hug anything on this list. Anything on this list. Oh man. It's always a fun ride checking out one of these videos, seeing what kind of messed up stuff animals have in store for us. Out of all of them, I'm still like kangaroos, man. Kangaroos are just run up throwing fades at random people for no reason. Wait, he jumped in that car earlier? Like, what? See, more reason to never go to Australia. You'll never see me there. Alright, y'all. Y'all know what to do. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what y'all thought about this one. Let me know which animal on this list got to you the most. Mine was the kangaroo, because they over here growing up on everybody. Let me know which animal got you. It was like, oh man, that's crazy. Oh man, and then, of course, let me know what you want to see me react to next. Hit that like button before you go. Share this video with everyone you know, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Alright, so, till next time, take care of yourselves, and I'm out of here.